Hello?
Hello. How are we doing there, Nick?
and you show it just as I'm getting the sound on.
Yeah, well, because I had to create the new studio, I forgot to put it in there, so I had to type it up real quick.
Oh my gosh.
Um, Getting this thing shared out.
I don't know
Hey,
why I'm
Noreen,
itching all of a sudden.
itching.
Yeah. Who knows?
Hey, the Todd is here. If only Eileen was here right now.
Hey, Todd, or
We're doing
How
Todd.
are you?
doing the hell good.
Haven't seen you in a while.
Joe?
Oh, hey Joe. Well, I'm gonna be seeing
What's
this
different?
upcoming.
What happened there?
What?
Changed his name.
Yeah, he did. He's calling himself by his actual name,
Yeah,
Yeah.
he
which I'll.
had a little bit of a change. So,
Well, okay, that's good because now I know
Yeah.
who I'm talking to at least.
Yeah, he actually messaged me personally about it too. So I'm well aware of the change that he made.
That's
But
okay. My nosy ass is not in it, which you know what that means? I can't get into shit if I don't know
yeah,
about shit.
yep. Well, either way, excited. Yeah, as Joe said, it's a long story there,
Oh,
and
that's
of course,
quite all right. See, I see the drama on Facebook and then I'm like, oh wow, that's the first I've heard of it. I don't I'm not involved in it.
well,
That's great.
he hasn't publicized his, so
no, he hasn't. But I
which is
will be excited.
an example a lot of people need to follow.
I will be looking forward, however, to seeing him this upcoming Saturday at the Chicago Paranormal Convention.
Yeah.
Awesome. Todd, what have you been doing?
So he's been crazy busy here.
Yeah, I want to know what's going on.
He just met up with Robert Murphy over the weekend.
I knew
I
that.
thought I
I
saw
saw the
them with him.
pictures.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think I got tagged in a couple of those pictures.
So
So, first four initials of your surname. So the rest of it is crazy.
yeah. So he's still short 5 letters. So the tagline that I've got for tonight's show is "What's going on with our cities?"
Yeah. Like that's nothing new.
Well,
Oh, it's very new. Well, I mean, stuff's going on all the time, but it's very new stuff we're talking about.
Fort Wayne made the national news over the weekend.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So
So did ours, yeah.
yeah, uh, it was either Friday or Saturday. I forget which, but a black man, got beat up by a white biker gang here in Fort Wayne.
Oh,
And there's a lot of stories floating around on this one. Nobody really knows the truth, but there's a video out there of this man getting beat up. But from the one that I saw, did not show how the argument started. It showed one of the members of the biker gang punching him, and then some rough housing around. Everybody's down on the floor, and then it's done. So now they're calling this a race crime.
well,
Uh, the
I
story the
just looked it
story
up.
going around is that this guy refused to pay his tab. Another one was that he was trying to pay his tab and leave. I don't know what the deal is, but now we're getting protests. People are picketing in front of that biker that that bar where this incident happened.
Well, I'm
Uh,
going to tell you right now, I'm going to put this disclaimer out there. Bikers, as a whole, help people. They are not these racist son of a bitches unless they're in the two
The 1%.
percenters, one
Yeah,
percenters,
the one.
whatever that
Well, and I
call 'em.
just looked it up which club it was. I was not surprised. It was the Outlaws. And
Oh, I'm going to tell you the outlaws that I dealt with in New Mexico are not racist son of a bitches because they are Hispanic.
well, that's the thing too. Well, and I'm actually going to be honest. When the Outlaws, although violence does follow with the club, there used to, although to be fully honest, this guy was dangerous to begin with. They used to have a leader. He was the international president of the Outlaws Motorcycle Club back in the 1990s. His name was Terry Taco Bowman, and the reason why he had the nickname of Taco was because of his appearance. He looked like a Hispanic guy. They
Oh
even said
yeah,
if you
I
actually,
saw.
yeah,
Yep,
they said if you actually threw him into a room, and also his mustache they had, if you threw him
yep.
into a room with 20 other Hispanics, you couldn't even tell them from apart. Although the difference was he was intentionally committing crimes. And actually, I never told anybody about this. I was watching a documentary on him
Yep.
recently, and I even commented because it was a few years ago when he passed away while he was in federal prison. And I was like, I don't know if you guys have heard, he just passed away. And I get a response a few days later. Turned out it was a member of one of the outlaws who messaged me and said, yeah, I was there. We all had to attend. It was just us, though. Old ladies were not allowed except his own.
well, there's another layer to this story. One of the guys in this biker gang was dating the owner of the bar.
Well, that it's kind of unusual to hear that because a lot of times, and it's not just the outlaws, a lot of these clubs have them. They usually have their own bars, their own clubs, their clubhouses that they
The
run.
clubhouses, yes,
So I
yes.
find it unusual that there's an actual bar that supposedly belongs to them when usually they have their
No,
clubhouse. That's
no, the club didn't belong to them. They
oh,
were
okay,
in
okay,
a club, but th- that's a myth because
They adopted it as their hangout.
yeah,
yeah,
it's like one of their hangout areas.
just like just like when Zach would go, he belonged to the VFW, and when they would do runs, toy runs, or poker runs or whatever else, bars were their stop
Yep.
at each place, and they pick up cards. Um, this there is just like who was it that said it a minute ago? I think it was Joe. There's bad
Adam.
in every. There's bad white people. There's bad black people. There's bad Hispanics. There's bad, bikers. There's bad rich people. There's bad. I mean, it's. But as a whole, they do good. Now
They
they're not going
or
to put up with shit. I can promise you. But they do good, and I really want that true story to come out as what really happened because both sides are you're saying that one person's saying that he didn't pay, the other people are saying that he did pay, so
Well,
let's.
I'm looking at an article that just came out yesterday. The initial report was that he was not going to file charges. Now is saying that he is, and these guys, their their gain is Outlaw Motorcycle
yep,
Club.
which originated here. They're from
So
Chicago too.
apparently they were
I
throwing out
wouldn't
a
brag about
lot.
that.
They were throwing out a lot of racial slurs. There was a pastor that was doing some kind of a peaceful thing out there the other day. I don't know. It. I am a part of a Facebook group called Nosy Neighbors of Fort Wayne.
Yep, I have Greeley's.
Yeah,
I'm gonna
and
have to say there's one for
the,
Glenview.
the people that are on this thing, holy shit, they are outrageous. I have never seen just despite everything that we have all been through, I have never seen so many rude and crude and just don't give a shit in people.
Oh,
Yeah, really.
ours, there's one page that's called Greeley Anything Goes. Literally, anything goes. And people are just nasty. They are awful. And then you, of course, you get the people commenting on them that are awful. You get the Karens.
Yeah,
Oh, I look at it, I see what's going on, and that's it. I'm done because I'm
yeah,
going to say something that's going to get my ass kicked.
yeah. I just joined it a week ago. Just think, okay, this would be a way to keep up with the news of what's going on with Fort Wayne because the actual news don't really give us what we need. And I'm looking at this and holy cow. If my mom was still here, she'd be so ashamed.
And it is shameful that we have come to a place where it is so accepted to be so nasty to other
You know,
people.
Yeah. Um and I can't even believe that somebody thought it was okay to normalize that.
Yeah, and it has become normal in the news. It has become normal, in society. This is not okay. I mean, there's got to be more of us good people than there is bad. But when you continuously see, like we talked about before, when you are around a certain type, you start taking on those characteristics. So, even without knowing it or realizing it, and then somebody you haven't seen for years says, "The hell happened to you? That's not how you were." And you have to reevaluate yourself. And so, that's the same thing that's happening now. You see it with me. You look in these groups, and people are bashing one person that's just trying to say something. Everybody's bashing them, so then there's other people protecting them, and you end up, after reading all the comments, you're pretty pissed off, and you end up saying something you shouldn't say. And
There was one yesterday. Um, Somebody was complaining about grass being blown out onto the street.
oh yes, that's illegal here.
I didn't know that. See, I mow the grass, and a lot of times the grass gets blown out onto the street.
It's illegal because bicycles and motorcyclists can go down
Yeah.
because of
Well,
that.
in
Sense.
Ohio, it's illegal. Here, it's not. Not that I
Neither
know.
here.
But there was this girl, and I'm paraphrasing this. She said, "I work 3 jobs. I don't give a shit. I don't have time to give a shit which way the grass is going." And people
I
just,
agree.
yeah, and she started talking about how she even with the 3 jobs that she has, she doesn't have much money, and having a motorcycle is a luxury that she can't afford. So she doesn't give a shit about those people if they get hurt or not. Yeah, she's saying all of this stuff, and people were jumping on her saying, if you have to work 3 jobs and you're still not making it, maybe you should rethink what you're actually doing. Another person said, it doesn't take much to think about whether if you're walking right or walking left with the mower. Just look where the grass is going and go where it needs to be.
Well, I would have stood up for her until that.
Yeah. Oh, there were a lot of people. I'm going to see if I can find that
See,
because she made that comment in this nosy neighbor thing, and somebody screenshotted it and blasted her.
Okay, so I just looked at the page, the last few comments, and there's one that says, "I know the person probably isn't on here, but I was the blue bike that was getting shots of your car while riding next to you. Your ride is sick. And they posted some person's car that they thought was cool. That's great. Unless, ooh, they posted a person with somebody else in the vehicle that they shouldn't have been with. That could be an issue. Well, at that point, don't be sneaky and go sneaking around. So, I don't know.
Wow, this is a busy, busy page.
It is here too. Made a report, but watch for these two. They're stealing packages. STEELING packages. I am not that person. I do not correct their. Oh, but that drives me crazy.
Something here called I just found this out. Chicago. Oh wait, no, I'm sorry. That's something else. Never mind. Because I was trying to see if there was one like for Chicago or to a lesser degree, Glenview. Oh my god. Okay, I don't see this, but I will say that I will tell you this. This is actually kind of funny. This was from a few years ago. Somebody says there sounds like she had it coming. Nosy woman spying on neighbor gets head stuck in the metal gate for 5 hours. Her head was stuck in a metal gate.
Okay, so I am seeing some good things here, which is great. People giving away diapers,
Good evening, Braxton.
dishes. Hi, honey. I was wondering where you were.
I figured he was going to show up.
I am seeing a lot of good things on here, which is great. Somebody's dog passed away, and they're looking for cremation places. But you've always got the smart ass on there. The fire in the backyard. If I had control of the page, they would no longer be on the page. But, I don't. So.
I got to bring something else up. And Adrian, I know I actually just saw that you commented on this. And something I figure we would probably talk about. All this talk about nosy neighbors and stuff. I heard about the sentencing of Aaron's former wife. For Aaron from Ghost Adventures.
You heard about it or you watched the video?
I haven't watched the video yet, but I have seen the photos.
It is gut-wrenching.
I'm sure it is.
It is. I mean, you feel for him because you can imagine if it happened to you, you gave all your faith to that one person and they did this. He had a speech wrote up, and you can see it on David Childers' page.
I saw it.
You can watch that video, and he is talking to the judge before the sentencing. And through his whole speech, he is crying.
Yeah, I could see in the photos he was like constantly crying. Like
it was awful. And the things he said was, you can tell it was from the heart, and that it killed him. And he went into a little more detail than what we knew about her cheating with other men, and that they were trying to work it out.
That part.
Huh?
I didn't know about that part.
Yeah. Well, I didn't either until, he went into detail in his speech saying, I think she needs, he said, I don't know what sentence she would need. He said, but I'm going to tell you, I'll never feel safe again. She has taken any sense of safety I ever had. And when she gets out, I'll still not feel safe. Do you know how many years she got?
I saw that. She got served like 3.5 to 7 years in prison.
7.5 to 15.
It just, to me, it's just like when I saw that, and I talked about this with my mom because, like how I've told you guys that, she's been an attorney before. She says to me, she's probably going to get out in like 3 years, if not even after a year or so. I mean,
and that's possible. That's absolutely possible. But how do you solicit to a hit?
Yeah.
There's a name for it that we can't say on here because then it might get taken off, but and get 7 years. Hell, let me go do it.
It's like,
I got some people on my list.
I mean, it's like when I heard that, it's like I couldn't believe it. And I even said to my mom, response saying, I mean, when she told me that she could even get out earlier, I'm like, you're kidding me. There's no justice for Aaron in this case.
There is not.
Well, the thing is, even if she got 25 years, he still would not be able to feel safe because
No,
he could still influence somebody from where she's at.
absolutely.
Well, I said that again.
Happens all the time.
And
Again,
he's
I said
public.
that to my mom too. Is that even if Aaron escaped like the area, left and never looked back, it's still not over for him yet because even she may be locked up in prison, she may even be in a maximum security facility, but that doesn't mean that she could still make calls from behind bars to take care of it for her still.
Well, and those calls are so. We'll go there in a minute, but those calls are recorded. But something has to happen in order to go back to see those calls and see what happened. Here's the thing: she cheated with more than one person.
Yep.
He allowed her to come back in. They were working on it. He said he was treated like a king. And she treated him amazing the whole time, sending his location, asking if it was done yet. I okay, I don't know. I guess as a normal human, you cannot fathom that. I don't know. I can't. I can't. Yes, there's people I would love to do that to. That don't mean I'm going to. But I can't. I can't fathom.
Well, his life will never be the same ever.
It will
It's,
not. And he had trouble coming back
yeah.
to the show
I mean,
because of things that happened to him paranormally. But this is just kind of icing on the cake that I don't know if he'll come back from.
Yeah, because real life is much more dangerous than anything paranormal.
yeah, very much so.
Yeah, it is.
The other thing that I also think about when it comes to his situation is because for starters, I just found the video on YouTube, so I'll watch it later. And sorry, I kind of lost my train of thought for a second, but just the amount of impact it must really have on him, and it's
He
just
said he cries every day.
well, and I'm sure it's even more devastating for him when the sentence was given to the former wife. Like, that it was only like 7 years, and it was not what he was probably hoping for. Because I always heard those
Are
type
they
of
even
charges.
divorced? Are they still married?
They
I
are
don't
right
know.
now.
I don't think they are.
Yeah, they are.
Oh, they are. Okay.
They're married right now. Now, with her being in prison and the circumstances, I believe that there is a clause where he can file and she wouldn't have to sign or nothing else. There's no fighting it. It can be done and over with.
A situation like this, if he wanted it, it should be an automatic given.
Oh,
Yep.
absolutely. And I really hope. Obviously, there was not a prenup or she wouldn't have done this. But he was willing to share everything he had.
Yeah.
And she wanted to take everything he had. But come to find out, she was, it's not embezzlement, but she had started taking all their money out
Out of
and
the bed.
drained it. There was a word for it, and I can't remember. It was in that video. I was trying to work and listen to it too, and I have to stop it and answer a call. But it's awful, and it's sad that it's not like we know him, but we know him.
Something tells me after I watch this video, like I always do for a lot of our investigators, like, who's gone through like really bad stuff, I'm probably going to say something, to give our support, our thoughts, for him.
Be
'Cause I
really
think it's the right thing.
careful.
I think it's the right thing to do.
And this is for everybody. Be very careful. I've been seeing lots of pictures of him, recent pictures that people have. I don't know where they've taken them from, but they're saying that they're him and putting on there, I'm going through some stuff, whatever, and people are friending that page, and it's turned into kind of a scam.
Yeah, that I don't buy once I get those types. So that's why I'm just, if anything, that's why I'm kind of just putting my own thing together. Like to give the real Aaron support of how things are, because you guys know me. I always do it whenever I'm able to.
Yeah. Well, no, these people are not like trying to friend you like they do Zach Bagans.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I don't ever accept those.
I wouldn't accept the real one.
No, I wouldn't either.
But they're trying. It's some of our friends on our friends list who have found this page or have friended this page and repost this. So you don't see who it's really from. You see your friend's name up there and assume that they have some common sense. Don't, because they don't.
I got to tell you guys too. Did you guys ever hear about? I mean, I don't know if they really had as many details a few months back as they do now. The guy that Aaron, hired, as the hitman. Did you guys hear exactly who he was, by the way, or what he was in prison for?
I heard the name, but no, I don't think.
This dude, I'll tell you right now, I mean, for starters, he was already serving a life sentence. He had murdered his entire family. He murdered his brother and his parents.
Okay.
So pretty much in a way, this guy was pretty much like a serial killer.
Okay. He was in prison?
He's in prison. And this just came back to me. He is in prison. He murdered his family because it was over, and it's a ridiculous reason. He murdered them because it was over, I think it was over an altercation with not an altercation, an obsession that he had, I guess, with a webcam model or something like that. I'm not sure what it was, but I saw something along the lines of that. And he killed his entire family over it.
Oh, I love how innocent you are. Webcam model. That's a hoe. That is not a model of any sort. So how he's behind bars. How is he doing this?
Well, the way how I see it, even if he's behind bars, he could still contact someone from the outside to do it.
Just like she can.
Is that what happened? He contacted someone outside?
So, I'm not I don't know. It just says here, because I'm on the Court TV site, that it says, oh, wow. She offered to pay him, get this, over $11,500 in a plot to have her husband murdered.
Yeah.
And the inmate was identified as Grant Amato, who was serving damn it. I hate. Okay, here we go. Sorry, the screen went black for a sec. The inmate was identified as Grant Amato, who was serving a life sentence for the murder of his parents and brother. Amato killed his family after an argument over his obsession with a webcam model, which had caused turmoil in the family for months.
You think?
Yeah.
I don't know how that would happen.
So
this guy, like I said, was kind of a serial killer.
What we're trying to do was an intervention. That'd be my guess. And he wasn't having it.
Yeah, well, that's when you can have your model. Bye.
I found the post that I was looking for about the grass situation.
Yeah.
She wrote down, I work 3 jobs. I don't have time to give a damn about which way the grass blows. I'm broke and will never be able to afford a luxury or non-necessity vehicle like a motorcycle, so I really don't give a damn. Ride at your own risk. I'm watch out for them and respect them on the road, but I'm not overthinking mowing my damn lawn. I don't give a damn if that makes me a bitch or stupid or whatever else you might call me. No one needs a motorcycle. Period.
Yeah.
I say backlash warranted.
It's a good thing she's not on my page.
No.
Just one other thing I got to say about this whole thing with Aaron. I mean, I'm just kind of scrolling through the video, at least for now, just to get an idea. And not only are you right, Adrian, does he looks so sad of what happened, but she's not even showing much emotion herself. In fact,
Oh,
if
she
she
did.
is,
She
oh,
did.
I think she is, because again, I was just scrolling through. Again, I wasn't actually watching
Yeah,
it.
you'll have to watch it.
Well, I don't buy those tears that she's getting, because this is one of those classic examples that she's not sorry for what she did. She's sorry because she got caught.
That's every criminal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's normal. But I think it did hit her because when he was talking about how he loved her, I think it kind of hit her. Too late now, it doesn't matter. And what would she have thought if that would have actually happened and went through with it?
Yeah, really.
And a lot of, like, if you watch some of these true crime things or documentaries, a lot of times you'll see the cops will call in the person who had that who called the hit out, and they'll have them in there and say, your husband died. And, and they'll want to see their reaction. And they'll tell them they actually died before they arrest them.
Yeah.
I wish they would have done that with her, but they didn't have time.
Well, either way, just the sentence, like I said, is what I know is it bothers me the most out of it. I just think to myself, like when I read that earlier today, I'm not going to lie, I was like, that sick absolute bitch. I can't believe they're going to let her out.
Yeah, and she's going to come out, and this is going to be controversial, but I'm going to say it anyway. It's going to be a lot like Gypsy Rose Blanchard.
Yeah.
I've been following her since she got out of prison. And that's what I was getting ready to say about the phone calls being recorded. I have listened to her jail recordings. You can request them and get them. And they're public record. So I have listened from phone call 1.
Prison?
Yeah.
I did not realize you can request to listen to them.
Yes,
Yeah, you can. It's a new thing that they've been doing. So yeah, you can. Hey, Nicole, good to see you.
So I have listened to her phone calls from the first one after she was arrested, or whatever you do with a child, before she was moved to Missouri prison. I'm going to tell you right now, I do believe she was very naive and stupid when it first happened. We're talking about things that are happening in our town, and then we veer off on Gypsy Rose Blanchard right now because my mind went squirrel.
And also, with what
How old was she when she did that?
I want to say she was 13, but she was told she was like 12.
Oh, jeez.
Well, 12, 13, there's really not much of a difference there.
Yeah.
But it's coming out now that it's not giving me the answer I want. It's coming out now, some of the videos that she had done with that guy that actually did it, who is mid-autistic.
Mid-autistic? Oh, I didn't hear anything about that.
Well, the guy that did it, I want to say he's severely autistic, but it's not severe where it impacts his thinking and his reasoning, absolutely. And she offered herself, for lack of a better word.
Yeah.
And he wanted to play dress up and, different things. And she did it. She put on wigs and she dressed up. And there's all kinds of videos of this out now. How she manipulated him from step 1. Now, do I feel sorry for him to a point? But he did have a choice. But she was leading this parade. So,
Wouldn't he have?
And I'm
I'm
going to tell
sorry.
you
What?
something else. This is going to be funny. I'm not going to say it on here, but I want y'all to look up Gypsy Rose's grandmother's family. See if you recognize the name.
It does sound familiar.
Oh,
Well,
no. Gypsy Rose, no. But the grandmother's name, look at the last name. You'll flip.
well, what I
You
was going to
flip.
say was, wouldn't this guy have known about what her true age was, though? Like you said, since he had a choice, wouldn't he have known about?
She didn't know her true age,
Oh, okay, okay.
supposedly. Now, I don't know how much of that's true, but her dad did testify that when she was not allowed to, he was not allowed to say her real age to her.
Oh, yeah. I just looked like what you just said.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
Holy cow.
I have connected it. It is relation.
Jeez.
I have done.
And pretty close to the same area too.
Yeah. Same
I have
state.
done the research. I just don't know what relation. Is it cousin? Is it but there's a relation.
I wonder if she ended up on a podcast.
Yeah.
Very interesting.
Yeah.
I didn't
Yeah.
know she has her
So
own show now, by the way, speaking of which, Gypsy Rose, because it says starting last year she had her own show, which premiered on Lifetime.
I've watched every episode of it. I also know behind the scenes that people that know her stepmother, the stepmother's giving information. The stepmother is the ringleader of this show. Her name's Christy.
Yeah.
And she is a bitch. Absolute bitch.
Wait, see. World. Oh, I didn't know that actually there was actually a term by that.
Oh,
When-
there is Munchausen syndrome. Yes, absolutely.
I don't know how to say that word.
Munchausen by proxy. It is absolutely a real thing. And
Okay.
it happens a lot. Now,
I figured there was a term that existed. I just didn't know exactly what it was called.
that's her mother. It's not making it. Some of them make them sick in order to get the attention. Others claim they're sick. Here's my question on that. Why aren't the doctors that supposedly did these things to her without her needing them, why are they not being held accountable? If she did not need all of her teeth pulled, if she did not need the feeding tube, if she did not need the trach, why are they not being held accountable?
Yeah, because that should be against the Hippocratic Oath.
Oh,
Yeah,
absolutely. Absolutely. Something is wrong with the whole big picture that we don't have. The neighbor did an interview that I watched where he went into the house looking for Dee Dee, the mother. And when he went in, he didn't see her because she was buried under blankets. The cops came in and didn't see her either and said, let's clear the scene. And then somebody saw her. The whole thing, and I've seen the actual crime scene photos.
Oh, I've seen them too.
The whole thing is, and it's finally come out here recently, where she had a lot more to do with it than she said she had to do with it, which was probably by the instruction of her attorney because she was a child. Okay. But those videos you see of her when she's dressed up, that is not a child. That is a manipulative young woman. And it hasn't changed.
There was something just like that, believe it or not. I mean, I don't really watch this show because to me it's just not the thing my show that I watch, but I know they have demonstrated that kind of thing, believe it or not. That's obviously Law and Order. And there's been a few shows where they've kind of pointed towards that element where you have someone out there that tries to manipulate into thinking that not only just the age they are, but just like with what they're trying to establish. And of course, near the end of it, they usually get caught. They don't get off free-handed. They end up getting, like, there was like one episode, like there was one, again, I only just saw parts of it. There was like one episode where I guess they had like it was a girl that was like from North Carolina, and she claimed she was 17 years old. Well, turned out she was not 17. She was 23. And yeah, I mean, I don't remember, again, I only just saw parts of it, so I don't know the exact plot of the story, but that demonstrated that elements of manipulation, the age line, in order to get some type of money or something out of whatever it is that they're trying to accomplish.
According to this, none of the doctors in her case have formally been held accountable or faced disciplinary action. So not only would this be on the doctors, but this would also be on the what is it? Medical review, like board of directors, something like that. So it would even have to go higher up. So they would have to hold them accountable as well, not just the police.
So
Yeah.
we also have now, I saw this the other day, and this isn't the same one that I saw, but we also have people now claiming to speak to Dee Dee Blanchard's spirit.
Oh God, yeah, I think I already know what you're talking about.
No, nope,
Oh no, I thought you were talking about. I thought you were talking about that channel.
no. This is a TikTok video
Okay.
by a psychic. Today I'm going to be doing a video for Claudine, aka Dee Dee Blanchard. Now I personally have so much to say about this. Okay.
Well, first of all, it's a TikTok video.
Uh-huh. Oh, and then there's YouTube.
Well, yeah, you got YouTube as
As
well.
well, but here's the thing. What people put on YouTube, they also put on, well, they put everywhere. But they do these things, they manipulate these things so that they can get the views, and if they get enough views, they can get money.
Yep. You all know how that feels like.
Yeah.
So, oh,
So you know what I want to see when it comes to TikTok videos?
what's that?
I want to see cats. I want to see dogs.
Yeah.
See them do funny things that make you laugh.
Oh,
Me
I have
too.
all kinds of those videos.
Yeah, I don't want to see people pretending to speak to other people's spirits.
I know.
No, but I'm waiting for that one person to do the same thing. Or have
Are you-
somebody on the show to do the same thing.
Is that who I think you're talking about?
I don't know who you think I'm talking about, but you
Well-
can put it in the chat in our group and I'll let you know.
No, you guys know too well who I'm thinking about, because I've cracked down a few times on his channel for speaking like to the recently deceased.
Oh, no. I'm talking about the relative.
Oh, the relative. Okay.
I don't know who he'll have on the channel, but I'm waiting.
Oh yeah, we ain't going there.
No.
I want to circle back to this assault that was here at the bar.
Yeah, with the Outlaws.
Another thing that I found that I did not know about before the start of the show. Somebody called out the guy that got assaulted. Karma caught up with you. The old man you assaulted and paralyzed likely feels vindicated. You're a drunk, woman beaten, gamebanger, sovereign citizen who writes statements and sues without a scratch from your vicious attack. Now, this is what he's saying to the guy that got beat up.
Uh-oh.
The whole city does not support you. The people in this group do not know your true nature, but the streets do. They defend you solely because you're black, not because you're a good person. Did they? Did you pay any of the old man's hospital bills when you jumped him? Also, that fake preacher is pathetic. The one that I was talking about that came and did the demonstration. The fake preacher is pathetic, a womanizing rapist and thief. Your cries for attention aren't working over here, player.
Not good at all. Joe, send me a picture. I want to see.
Yeah, which I'm going to see this Saturday, so I'm really looking forward to it.
Yeah.
So already we got all kinds of different stories coming out,
You
and
know,
nobody seems to know what's true.
it's kind of it. It just reminded me of another similar case like that, and this also involved a biker club. Believe it or not, it was involving the Hell's Angels Motorcycle Club, their rival. And
That
we
doesn't
find
surprise me.
what's that?
That doesn't surprise me.
Well, you probably heard of this case. That whole thing that happened back in 1969 with the Rolling Stones concert. Did you ever hear of that whole incident that occurred?
Maybe if I hear the details.
So there was a special concert that was going on in California, in the summer of 1969. What it was originally intentionally to be, it was not Woodstock, but it was intentionally supposed to be like the Woodstock Festival of the West Coast. And they decided, as far as security was concerned, they knew all about the Hells Angels practically. Not only were they going to use them to support, the club, but more importantly too, they were actually hired as security guards. In fact, they've been hired as security guards previously, for other festivals. So,
That I did know that they had been hired as security.
yeah, they had been hired as security before, and according to previous festivals, they were great. They were doing their job. They were even at times funny, and so they thought, they were going to use Hell's Angels, but unfortunately, it all started. First of all, it started with one of the bands, Jefferson Airplane, where one of the band members actually used the F word on one of the Hell's Angels, and a Hell's Angel knocks him down, as a result, because that was considered disrespect, and it just led into this whole crazy thing. But then later on that evening, when the Rolling Stones were performing, there was, you have to remember, just like Woodstock was, there was a lot of people, who were high on drugs. You had a lot of the hippies there, and there was one
Drugs, a lot of drinking, and a
a lot
whole
of yeah, a lot of everything. And there was, I don't remember what his name was. It was a black guy that was there who he was actually still a kid. He was only 19 years old, where he started, causing all this trouble within the crowd as well as to the Hells Angels. And the Hells Angels ended up fighting back against him, like when it was quite obvious he was not going to, you know, straight up with his behavior. And unfortunately, they ended up killing the kid because of his behavior. And that was actually supposedly the one crime where that led to the Hells Angels being the official outlaw motorcycle club at that time. In fact, what the band Jefferson Airplane singer, I can't remember her name, but they're in the helicopter when this whole thing is going, and one of the guys who's flying the helicopter looks down and he's like, gee, looks like someone is getting killed down there. Well, it turned out he was right. They were. So I kind of see a comparison between this recent incident and the incident that occurred back in 1969.
No, I do not know that one.
Yeah, that was the one thing, like I said, that got national attention. And again, that was at that time they said that was the one crime that labeled the Hells Angels as a criminal organization. But of course, obviously, they've been, like you said, Adrian, they still help people and they're still trying to clear the name of their club that they're not. It was just bad apples.
I don't know if they're trying to clear their name.
Oh, I honestly don't know. I mean, I've heard.
I don't know about them. There are clubs, there are 1%ers, and I did not know the true meaning of 1%ers.
Have you heard? You know what
I got with Zach.
I've known about it for the longest time. about what
I
a one percenter
that was
is.
something I never got into that stuff. That was just not my thing. What you do on your bike is not my problem. Not
Yeah.
my business. I ain't on it.
I was going to say with my vest, why do you think I don't put a 1% patch on it? Because I know
You
not
shouldn't
never to
put
put one.
any patch on it that has anything to do with remotely looking like a biker.
Definitely. Well, the closest thing other than the paranormal patches I have, other than the rockers, is a skull and crossbones, but that's pretty much it because I like the skull and crossbones. That's
Yeah.
the closest I'll ever get to. And because I think I might have told you guys before, several years ago, we actually did have the opportunity to investigate with a biker club. Not a 1%er one, just as they would call the 99 percenters. And the guys that we were they were actually pretty nice guys, to be fully honest, but they were, I think, probably the most perfect people I could really ask all these questions to, like in regards to my vest. And I got a lot of that. Hold on one second, guys. Sorry, someone's calling me. They were probably the most perfect guys to really ask all my questions to them.
That's why I always have my phone on mute, which isn't always a good thing.
Well, it's one of those things. It like any it doesn't matter what group you're in, there's good and bad in all of them. And it's your choice to hang out with them or don't.
Speaking of groups,
Oh shit.
um, what was going on with the Jewish group in Boulder?
Well, apparently they were. Let me look because I want to make sure I say it correctly. There was a protest, and they were peaceful, and they were trying to. Boulder Mall. Okay, let's look that up. They were trying to. I want to say it was Iranians. They were trying to get, it free, but there was a man that decided it was a good idea to go in with Molotov cocktails, and one of his victim was like late 70s, early 80s. He burned up. I don't know that any of them died. The individuals were walking in a regularly scheduled weekly peaceful event.
Until
Suspect. Yeah, until.
Yeah.
The suspect has been identified as Mohammed Sabri Solomon, 45, of El Paso County. He was taken in the hospital to be medically evaluated before being booked into Boulder County Jail. Who cares what happened to him? Witnesses reported that the suspect used a makeshift flamethrower and threw an incendiary device into the crowd. The suspect was also heard yelling "Free Palestine" during the attack. Yeah, so Boulder police notified the FBI. They were there within minutes. How? Anyway.
they should have been there to begin with.
Yeah.
The FBI is investigating the attack as a targeted act of terrorism and is working with Boulder police to process the crime scene, interview witnesses, and gather evidence. And they haven't even said, as far as I know, if that elderly person died or if they didn't from their injuries. But there's pictures of him with Molotov cocktails in both hands.
What is it with now? Sure, it may not have been directed at this particular elderly person, but still, it was a crime on the elderly.
Mm-hmm.
And
Well, I can also. Sorry, Jeremy.
okay, yeah, and we just had an 86-year-old woman here in Fort Wayne shot and killed in her own home over
Mm-mm.
the weekend.
Mm-mm.
these circumstances around that, I have no clue. I don't know um, if this was like a younger family member trying to do something as far as like drug related or not. I have no clue.
Yeah.
But where she was living, sad to say, does not surprise me because she lived in one of the really bad parts of town. But yeah,
Probably all she could afford.
yeah, and her home is right across the street from an elementary school and a church. So
Yeah.
there should have been cameras out there somewhere.
Oh yeah. I don't know if they
Yeah,
do in schools or not, outside of schools, but
This day and age, they really should.
they should.
oh,
Um, the Braxton and Tom saying now their family's being
yeah,
detained
they're
by
being
ICE.
detained.
Okay, that's something. Did their family have anything to do with it? Probably not. And this detaining and deporting without any kind of, real, oh, this tattoo, this rainbow tattoo looks like it's a
Yeah.
gang symbol. No, no. I understand if your visa's expired. I understand, things like that to go through the process. I don't understand sending people to a place that the judge said that they had asylum from. I don't understand that.
It's very possible that the family may not have known what he was doing
Sure.
because I remember a story. Oh shit! Who was it? It was. I gotta look it up. It's about the man who killed a bunch of women.
Oh yeah.
Um,
I know what you're talking about. Yeah,
Dennis Rader.
Dennis Rader. Yeah.
So Dennis Rader, over however many years, killed a whole bunch of women. Is it? Oh, men and children, typically targeted women. From 1974 to 1999, the whole time his wife did not know what he was doing.
Sure. I mean, if you trust your husband or if he has enough control over you or your wife that, they tell you I'm going to work.
No. Oh, they're going to work, but not the work that you think.
I mean, if you have no reason to question them or they go on their lunch break and do something stupid,
Yeah.
you can't be expected to know.
This day, it's very easy now to deceive somebody.
Yep.
Mhm.
Oh, I can't tell you how many times that I've seen because correct me again if I brought hey Joanne, correct me if I brought this show up before because I do watch this. To me, I watch it because it reflects on a family member's perspective, and also, as I would usually say, this is a show that I think is a good way for me to take a break from watching a lot of the paranormal shows and focus to something that actually is truly real. It's on Investigation Discovery. Do either of you guys ever watch that show, Evil Lives Here?
I have seen it, yes.
What
And okay, so you understand from the perspective of what the show is about. I've been watching it nonstop. I mean,
what is it?
what's that?
What is it?
Evil Lives Here.
Yeah, it talks about like people that, you don't even know your neighbor's a murderer or all of a sudden they become one or, your husband, wife, boyfriend, girlfriend, kids.
Yeah, it that's exactly what it is. A show that is on the perspective where they interview like either either a relative or a partner, they talk about either their parents, like either their mom or dad, or their sibling, or their or even their own kids, like
Mhm.
or
Real
husband and
quick,
wife, all these type of things,
Mhm.
where
Nick, since she's here, today is Nick's
yes,
birthday. All the way. Well, actually, it's tomorrow for her now.
yeah,
Yeah.
But it's still today for us. So happy birthday, Nikki.
happy birthday, Nikki. But yeah, so with the show, so they speak from the perspectives of like who these certain individuals were, because unfortunately for some of the people that are interviewed, they were either abused by them, or
Yeah.
to some degree sometimes they have been molested or raped, like if they were kids.
Mhm.
And it later goes on with the fact that this whoever this relative is, it's not just from the abuse that they suffered. They also talk about the eventual like big crime that they would eventually commit, which most of the time it usually involves murder. In fact, they actually did an episode, which is certainly one of the best ones. And I'm not just saying it because it happened here, but they even did an episode on John Wayne Gacy. They interviewed his sister.
They've done so many.
They've done, and it's really sad from when you hear from their stories of what what they had to endure either through their childhood or relationship or whatever the case is. And
Mhm.
it's just a show that you just can't help but feel really bad for these individuals. In some occasions too, I forgot, in addition to relatives or partners or whatever, some of them also have episodes involving, like, if they were raised in a family household, but they were also part of a cult. So you also have former cult members
Mhm.
that speak out
Mhm.
too.
Braxton, I remember that. Now, wasn't it they found them, but like one of them was still defending the person because they were like, I mean, they had grown to, that's their family now.
There was a story
Let's-
that just came out today where um, a man had killed his three daughters. The oldest one was 9.
I don't get, I don't.
Braxton, they didn't do an episode as far as I know of, like, because he says like that former members of Jim Jones's cult. I don't.
Oh, yeah.
Well, I know I don't think they have, at least so far, they have done an episode involving, like, somebody speaking from Jim Jones's cult, but they have from other cults though in the past. The show's been running for almost 10 years now, since 2016, and I've gotten up to I can't remember which season it was, but it was up to, I think it was from 2 or 3 years ago, where I was caught, so I'm at least a few seasons behind. And I don't know if you've ever, because Adrian, you said you've seen a few episodes of the show.
Mhm.
Believe it or not, in spite that this is true crime right here, there actually are some episodes, like, it's very rare, but there are some episodes where they do kind of have a little bit of a paranormal theme to the episode. Because there was like one episode that I don't remember which episode it was, but it was a woman that used to be in a relationship with this guy, who, I guess, he ended up murdering someone, and they ended up taking photos of the crime scenes. And when they showed the pictures, and they knew this was not, I mean, again, you can't, a person is not lying when they tell these horrific stories.
Mhm.
They had found pictures of what looked like there was a skull in the photographs, but the way how the skull was appearing was almost like it was kind of giving clues, like directing exactly where the body was was going to be located. So in a way, it was like the murdered victim was actually reaching out through these photos by appearing as a skull. And each time they get closer to the particular crime scene, like where the skull is pointing, they would get another picture of the skull itself before
Mhm.
they eventually find the body. And the skull disappeared entirely.
Well, like the girls that Braxton's talking about, can you imagine? I mean, yes, they were found. That's great.
Hey,
But
Chris.
put yourself in their shoes for a minute. Depending on their personality, do you go on with your life, or would you rather wish you were never found and that he went ahead and killed you, because their life can never be normal again. Okay, wait a minute. Put that back up there.
I'm sorry. I was
I
just going
can't
through a few more.
read
Go
that
ahead.
quick.
That's
No, go ahead.
that's the guy I'm talking about. Now, apparently, this thing came out 2 days ago.
Okay. And yeah, Jim Jones, I did see his son do kind of an interview
I've
in the
seen that too.
documentary, and the daughter. That woman looks so evil while she
She
was up
does.
there trying to act military. And
Well,
she never acted like she was remorseful ever.
it's ironic because I never told you guys about this. I mean, not saying that this is necessarily a bad thing, but the fact that Jim Jones committed that horrific murder suicide in Guyana, ironically enough, I almost did make my very first connection with what would have been my first paranormal. I should refrain that. My first paranormal connection from Guyana, and I can't even imagine the amount of activity that it has occurred in the former Jim Jones site. But also, more importantly, they're still finding artifacts from the former Jonestown that existed.
Oh yeah, yeah. That's
In
like,
fact-
what was that? Okay. One was the Kool-Aid story, which was
Yeah, drink the Kool-Aid.
yeah. And then there was something that happened
Oh, that's right, what Braxton said.
here.
Yeah, the woman who was a young journalist back in 1978 was in South America getting some info on the cult. She survived, too, after the members tried to shoot him by gunfire. That was that whole thing when they shot the news crew before they committed the mass suicide.
Yeah, yep. Yeah, that whole documentary was just like,
It was shocking. I've seen it. I mean,
Hey,
I've
unreal.
heard the story. I've heard the story of it, but seeing, even though it's just a documentary and reenactment, and they aired it on I remember they aired it on the History Channel, and that was just like, like
well, no,
holy.
they did the real
Oh,
real son, the real daughter,
Yeah, they did.
the actual footage of the woman, when she was being interviewed afterwards. But
Well,
it
and
goes to show how willing we are as people to follow somebody who is looked at as stronger than we are, or other people follow it.
well, not only that, thinking that he was like this great person, because you have to remember when he started his cult, because most people only focus on the mass murder that occurred in 1978, when in
Mhm.
fact the cult had actually been around for over 20 years. He started it back in
Mhm.
Indianapolis back in the mid 1950s, and at that time it was a great thing for a lot of people because he was opening his church and the eventual cult to people of all races. At a time when racial segregation was very high, this was like huge for people of both the black and white community, and he even adopted a few like Asian kids into his family.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's very easy, especially if you have 20 years, to
Mm-hmm.
be able to manipulate people to doing exactly what you want to do.
Well, and like Jan says, she's the one that actually made me aware. I had no idea. I was new to New Mexico, which I didn't obviously stay too long, but you being there on the border, you see a lot of things.
Yes.
But and she brought it to my attention. We were at Walmart one day, I think, and there was a lady standing there with a sign and had a kid. Had a kid in a stroller, which we see a lot.
That's right,
And they were Hispanic. And she's saying, I need help. It's written in Spanish, like she's new to the country, which over there is not, it's not that uncommon. A lot of people don't know how to speak English in New Mexico because it's right there.
Yep.
But she told me one day, she's like, no. She said, that girl, she has a handler. But what do you mean a handler? She said, she is not out here asking for money for herself. She has, like a whore would have a pimp. This is a handler that gets all her money. She is out there as bait. And there was one time Jan walked up to a girl. Where's your handler at? I got you. We'll get you the fuck out of here. Where's your handler? Of course, the girl did not reveal her source, but things like that are happening beneath our nose that we don't understand.
Yeah,
Well,
yeah. I know that. I know the audio, that tape that Braxton's talking about. Yeah, it's
I
on
was
you.
nude lots of times in New Mexico. Yes, sir.
I would not want to listen to that.
I heard a little bit of it, but I did not listen to no more than maybe 3 minutes of it, and then afterward, because it's not like it starts off like horrifically right at the beginning. I just stopped because I couldn't hear what was going to happen.
I don't think I could. Zach plays books at night.
Yeah.
And there was one that was Indians, and you know, when the war first started, and there was depictions of there wasn't screaming, there wasn't any of that, but there was women being raped, and there was, you know, it would wake me up, and I'd be like, what? And I'm listening to this, so it would wake me up several times during the night. Not that it
listen to this and still sleep.
Huh?
Yeah, really.
How can he listen to these things and still sleep?
He sleeps on one ear, he don't hear it.
It's just absolute the tape that Braxton's talking about. Yeah, he said he's listened to it all the way. It's like a 45-minute audio tape, and it's absolutely, from what I heard, a horrific tape, because it's like at the very beginning of it, from what I remember, it sounds like at first just like a typical church sermon that's going on.
Right.
You know, there's organ music, but hey, Brad, it sounds like a typical church sermon. You know, there's like organ music in the background. It doesn't sound like anything, you know, terrible's going on. But then from what I heard, like, because they have played some of the tape like in the documentaries, and it starts becoming a lot more dramatic. It starts becoming more horrific when you hear it practically, and you just hear him speaking out about taking their lives and stuff like that. Like, this is like a completely normal thing, like you would hear in the Sunday church mass.
Right. Yep.
And the other reason, and most people don't know about this, some people wondered, you know, when he moved his cult to Guyana, like, why exactly in that country? Well, they moved to Guyana for a couple of reasons. For starters, Guyana is the only South American country where English is the official language. Originally, there was actually some other places he wanted to move his cult to away from the United States. Originally, his original choice was either going to be like somewhere in China or in the Soviet Union. But of course, obviously, both countries said, no, you are not bringing this group of yours over here. You're not establishing this cult. That is not going to happen. And according to what Jim Jones's response was, he was apparently very heartbroken about it. So then he realized eventually the only other country that would have accepted that type of group was Guyana in South America.
Well, unfortunately, it was us too, because we did it.
Was us too. And from what I know about Guyana today, I mean, since the Jim Jones massacre, Guyana has become a stabilized democracy. However, Guyana has a racialized politics.
Waco. That's what I was trying to think of. Thank you, Braxton.
But, you know, there's been a lot of political violence even down there. And there actually is. I'm not saying everybody, because I want to be fair. There are still some people I've learned throughout that country who have, not just only in Guyana, but also neighboring countries of South America, Central America, Mexico, America, Canada, and even countries overseas, where these these individuals from that country, they develop a huge fascination with Guyana, really focusing on political entry, revolution, racism, and even Jim Jones.
Well, here's the thing.
I was thinking Guyana was in Africa.
No, it's in South America.
Yeah, I see that now.
Here's the
It's a
thing.
small nation on the northern coast of South America.
This should be a lesson to all of us. every one of us, like we talked about, you do become like the people you hang out with or that you see all the time. So let's surround ourselves with people that we do want to be like, not people that, you know, we try to change or think we can change, because no, we cannot.
But the problem is with certain people, we don't realize what they really are until they at
That's
some
true.
point make a mistake, or screw up, or decide to show us their true colors.
That's true. That's true. But once they show us their true colors, it's time to go.
And we
Like,
do.
That's what some of the cult members of Jim Jones tried to do. They, in addition to the news crew, there were some cult members that tried to leave, but they too were shot and killed because to them, Jim Jones saw it as a betrayal to Jonestown.
mhm.
And I'm going to be honest with you guys. I've talked about this a few times. I actually do have. He's someone, in fact, who does a show here who has kind of been, I'm not going to say the name, but he has kind of been in similar situations like that with a girl that he used to date. And he knows about this already.
Who
So
used to date me?
no, what I was,
I'm joking.
no, I know. No, what I want to say is, like, at the time that we met this girlfriend of his, and after we found out about her behavior and whatnot, I mean, I felt bad that it seemed like we were kind of talking behind his back about this, because it's like he's not seeing the way that we were seeing it, but he finally discovered for himself that this was starting to get really bad, and he had to eventually end the relationship. So, I decided to come clean with him, and I decided to say, look, it's not like we were trying to talk behind your back, but we were talking about a lot of this because we were worried about you. And we were fearing you were going to get involved in this too, because she and her family were very much like a cult. Because what we do know is that a cult is usually ran by one person who's in total control of another person or group. And these people, they made the rules, and if he was willing to follow them, then they knew, or in this case, his girlfriend, she knew she was in control of him. And when we revealed a lot of what we said, for these past few years behind his back, instead of, like what you would expect, that he would say, no, that didn't happen. Actually, he came clean and he confirmed everything that we were saying behind his back.
So
In
here's
fact,
the thing.
right, if somebody shows you their true color, believe them.
Absolutely. Here's the thing.
Uruguay.
Why are we waiting? Talking about someone, having to let them know we were talking about them. Why can't, and this is why people don't like Jan and I if they don't like us, because why are we talking about someone behind their back instead of talking to them? Now, if we went to them, straight to them, and said, hey, this is what I think is happening. This is, you can believe me or not, and I may be wrong or not, but here's what I think. That way, you're well aware of.
I should have done that at the time, but I wasn't really completely aware, understandably exactly what was going on between them. In fact, it all started, believe it or not, on a ghost hunt that we were on, because we were in fact investigating that high school that I told you guys about, Schurz High School. I was filming it live, and he was there with me. This was one of his first ghost hunts, and unfortunately, I didn't know about it at the time, but his girlfriend happened to see that I was live because I was mutual friends. So she saw the live, and then she called him up and was like getting really mad at him that he was participating in a ghost hunt, saying that he was like in some way like getting involved with Satanism and the devil himself.
Well, and that's different.
Oh, I love those people.
That's a whole different scene. But Jan and I get a lot of shit because we're not gonna say it behind anybody. We're gonna tell that person first. If they don't believe us when we say it, I'm sorry. I don't know what to say. I told you. We could be wrong. Absolutely. But we're going to say it to you before we say it to someone else. And that's the operative word there, Jan. She is a product
Yeah.
of a cult, not
Yeah.
in a cult.
Yep.
Product of a cult. And that's a whole different story that if
Right.
ever one day she wants to actually discuss it, I would love to have her on the show and discuss it. But until then,
She's told it to us
I'm going to leave it at
personally.
that.
Yeah, she told us personally about it. And I'm going to be honest. I'm just going to say that it was just so detailed and just
Oh,
so
it's very
horrific.
detailed.
Yeah, well, and also more importantly, so horrific. I mean, I'm not going to lie. When she went into deep detail of it, and I'm not trying to sound disrespectful, Jan, but although I think she was well aware, I almost had to, I had to, I almost got up, I almost got up and vomited. I mean, it was just so horrific hearing what I heard.
Yeah.
But you know,
living with it.
With my friend's case, like, I'm glad, you know, like when he was with this girl, I mean, it was when she told him that he was not allowed to take part in like the investigations and also like certain other things that he couldn't do, that raised a lot of red flags immediately. Like she was like, there were times she was calling him up when he was hanging out over here. She did that, in fact, like even during a 4th of July celebration that we had. And it was like she was like wondering, what are you doing? Who are you hanging out with? Who's with you right now? That kind of thing.
Okay,
And
was that jealousy? Or was that she was part of the Christian faith that went a direction that you can't do anything other than what the Old Testament says?
I think it was as I would think, looking back on it, I think it was a combination of both. I would say jealousy and this testament. And there were even times that she was trying to get him to cut ties with several like of his friends. She was trying to get him to cut ties with me, and even trying to cut ties with his own family, because you know it was. I'm thinking to myself, dude, what are you like? You got to end this right now. This is getting way too far. But it was like,
jealousy part probably came because of the Old Testament thing.
you know, it was really, I pretty much knew at this point that this really was pretty much was a cult, because I've always learned, again, talking about all the stuff about cults, you know, the fact that she was trying to tell him, if I can get you to get rid of someone that you care about, you're close to, or even related to, that will definitely show your increase in loyalty to me, because that shows that I'm more important to you than other people, even your own family. And again, if you really think about it, that's one of the things. That's one of the. Excuse me, I can't talk. That's one of the things Jim Jones did to get people. What's that?
Slap yourself.
I know, but anyways, yeah, you know, to show that kind of loyalty, that's one of the things Jim Jones did to get people to be loyal to him.
That's what narcissistic people do. It's not necessarily a cult. It's not necessarily. It's this is what narcissists do.
Yeah, it was just crazy, basically, with what he had to go through, and I knew better myself that to distance myself away from her. So, but yeah, they just had a very Jim Jones like feel to it when I heard about this family of hers.
Yeah. Well, you know, there are people who have a streamlined belief in either Christianity or any other religion for that matter. But if you're going to look at the whole picture, there's not a streamlined belief. If you want to go, okay, Bible, there's so many stories that branch different directions. Yes, you can interpret it any way you want to, but you're going to take it as how you feel about it and what feels right. You go, toward another religion, you're going to do the same thing. Can you build a cult on any religion? Absolutely. If someone believes in it blindly instead of using their own head. It's happened for generations, for centuries. You have to use your own mind and not just go with people that you want to be like. That didn't work.
There was
I'm not sure what Braxton's talking about, Chris. But Chris? What the hell did you say, dude? Chris, what now?
there was you talked about like again about all these crazy belief systems and stuff, and this actually just happened just the other day. I happened to watch this briefly with my mom. Not necessarily involving cults. This actually goes back to what we were talking about with the show Evil Lives Here. Maybe you've seen this episode, maybe you haven't, Adrian. I've seen it myself. But my mom happened to turn on the TV one day, and there was some movie that was on Lifetime that was involving an abusive family household. I mean, this was not just like your typical, discipline or spanking case. This was going up to a whole new level where the parents were practically abusing their kids, like physically. And I thought to myself when I saw that, I'd never seen this movie before. It was a made-for-television movie, and I thought to myself, that's odd. I feel like I heard of a case like that, very much like that before. And I looked up the movie, and when I found out, it kind of chilled me to my core because I seen the episode of Evil Lives Here. That movie, which came out about 3 years ago, I would assume, was based on, I don't know if you ever heard of the Turpin case, where it was, long story short, it was involving a family, a couple, the Turpins, who had 13 children. And they, from the very beginning, like from the moment they were born up to like that they were growing up, I mean, you talk about different, you think about different family abuse cases that go on, including what you see in the show Evil Lives Here. I don't think, this is just my personal opinion, I don't think no one has ever done anything as evil with this family abuse than the Turpins did, because just the severe amount of torture that they put through their kids. And more importantly, this was something, you guys are going to find this hard to believe, this was an issue, an abuse case that lasted for 30 years. It went between 1988 up till 2018 that these kids had to endure these horrific lifestyle their parents that they gone through. And to make matters worse, this did not just reflect upon when they were just kids. They wouldn't even let them leave the house even after when they turned 18 and 21. So they were also, this continued on even into their young adult years. And when the police finally, the only way that they eventually were caught from this issue was when one of the kids, a 17-year-old, decided to finally say that she had enough. She and one of the other siblings tried to run out of the house. One of the kids got scared and went back. But the 17-year-old finally spoke out about what was going on. And the conditions were just horrific. And some of the kids were just so malnourished that, in fact, they all believed that all the kids that they found that were horrifically emaciated and malnourished, they all thought they were under 18 because they were so emaciated of their, their natural resources. In fact, one of the kids that they thought was under 18, she was actually 29 years old.
Wow.
And they were going through this belief system, again, kind of a cult-like system of how life was. Like, they didn't know certain aspects of life. They didn't know what teachers were. They didn't even know what police were.
Yeah.
What was that show about the great big family? There's about 20 kids.
Gotcha, Joe.
Huh?
I was answering Joe.
Oh.
Take care, Joe.
Like the Dugan family.
While you're looking that up, I'm just telling you right now, this Turpin case, I mean, I had no idea that they made a movie based on this, but if anything, I would probably consider the Turpin case, basically, as crazy as it's going to sound, truly the mother and father of all family abuse cases. There's nothing that I've ever seen that was horrific as what they did. In fact, if you even look at their mugshots, not much of the husband, but more of the wife, who was really kind of
Here.
who was really the one that really, who was kind of the leader out of this. You look at her mugshot, she's kind of smiling in that picture, like she's
Let's
proud of what she did.
think about this. We've been told since we can understand, pussy controls.
Yeah, she was the mindset of this. That's the word I'm thinking of. She was just. It was just awful. And the episode of Evil Lives. Did you ever see that episode, Adrian? Or
I didn't, but I'm going to look it up.
They interviewed her this woman's sister. And she was even trying to control her own sister, like she was not allowed to like have a boyfriend or something. Well, of course she did. And there were times she did try to. She was not the only one. They may have hidden this abuse, like to their understanding, but her sister, and there were several other people that were well aware of what was happening. They were trying to get it to stop, but they were trying to give the impression that they were this big, all happy American family. There's even a photograph of them at Disney World, showing up with these a picture of them all dressed up and stuff. It's all fake. It's all fake.
Well, yeah.
Now here it is. Jan told me it's the Duggars or Duggars, however the names.
Okay.
So it's 18 and counting. We're now 19 and counting. Started out 17 kids and counting, then 18, and now it's 19. So I remember reading a story. It wasn't very long ago where one of the daughters had been interviewed, and she got herself away from the family and talked about I don't want to say mind control that the parents had over them, but they had to live a certain way. They had to do certain things, do these things certain ways by what their parents are saying, and they were just miserable. And now I come to find out that one of the older sons was molesting girls, including some of his sisters.
How awful.
And he is now in jail.
Which is just really sad because that's also his way. I mean, usually when people.
No, he's actually in jail for child pornography.
See, and that's the sad part is when you raise kids like that into that lifestyle and never giving that message that is wrong to begin with. I mean, this is when you hear that type of stuff, usually you would think of me, these people are just absolutely horrible. And and in fact, a lot of them are. But this is probably one of the few times that, you know what, I actually feel kind of bad for him because he was never given the message.
How would he have known? That's how he was raised. That's his lifestyle.
That's basically from what I see from some of these cases. Like, again, when it comes to those type of crimes, yeah, there are definitely nasty people out there. But if you later find out that some of these people were raised to be this way, honestly, you can't really fault them for the way because like this is not a matter of, oh, well, they're adults. They know the differences between right and wrong.
No, they don't.
Not exactly. In fact, there was even one officer in Louisiana that once said, it's basically raising your child in a certain kind of fashion. And when they become an adult and they act that way and you go, well, I have no responsibility for it. They're an adult. They did this to themselves or on their own. You know what? I call BS on that a lot because not hardly. They know what's going to happen.
Yeah. Well, I mean, they may not know what's going to happen, but they do know they have no more responsibility after 18. But that's where I think we need to hold the parents accountable if it can be proven beyond a shadow of a doubt that they were not, and maybe not, they didn't teach them right from wrong, but they were not able to go out into the world to learn right from wrong.
Because in their minds, they think to themselves, like, if they commit these horrific crimes, especially if it's like incest or sexual abuse cases, they think that this is the normal. This is what everybody in the world does. That's what they're under the impression of.
That's the problem. And there's a lot of people that live under that condition.
And okay, Braxton, I got to try alligator soup. I had fried.
it's just really sad when I found
Fried
out
okra?
about. Well,
Doesn't even sound good.
Oh,
well,
alligator, if it's cooked right, is amazing. I had it in Florida. But if it's not cooked right, it's nothing but fat. Alligator tail is nothing but fat.
I've heard it's very chewy.
If you get just the fat part, it is. But okay, fried okra, I'm down.
they did get him
Garlic
counseling
rice,
jobs
I'm
too. But
down. Peach tea, hell yeah.
okay, if they receive counseling, I mean that's a different story then, because it's like they're telling them that this behavior is unacceptable. But you know what I mean, though. I mean, for those in general that never got anything out of this,
Yeah.
and that's kind of the sad. That's kind of what I feel really bad about the Turpin kids that I was talking about, because
Yeah.
again they had to continue enduring this even when they became adults. In fact, if you guys didn't know, one of the older kids had now, I think just about a year or two, I think he had written a book about the life that he had to endure under his parents' roofs. And if that's not enough, these kids, because again, some of these kids are still very young. They've been under foster care, since the arrest of both of these parents, and it's really sad because from what I heard, they've been put under foster care and they have been adopted. They were adopted by yet another abusive family. Thankfully, this did not last as long as the original case was. They were sent back. All of the kids have been been bringing lawsuits, constant lawsuits to the foster care system. It's just like, for God's sakes, these kids, they have literally gone through hell. Like, even after when they finally were free from their parents' abuse, they were still going through it. It's like, for God's sakes, like, it really is that question of, how much more of this are they going to take from this?
Right. Chris, I don't want to hear your shit. I'm a few hours away from you. You don't take a trip down here. Don't be promising no trip to LA, Louisiana.
Speaking of Chris, I was talking to him the other day. We're going to try to meet up the weekend that I come down in March.
Chris?
Oh, you're going to meet up here?
Well, we're going to try to meet up somewhere.
He can't even meet up now. What makes you think that, if he comes down here only when you're down here, we're going to have an issue. He might be buried in one of these, culverts down here.
You heard it, Chris.
Be careful.
Yeah, he's actually got a box of stuff that he's going to be
Southern
giving me when I come out.
You mean his ashes?
Well, no, he's got to be alive to be able to give this stuff to me.
He can give it to me and I'll give you his ashes
Yeah,
in the box.
Yeah, I know exact what Jan said. Yeah, see, and that's like I said, when it comes to those type of kids that have gone through that type of stuff. I mean, when they grow up and eventually commit those kind of crimes without getting the counseling or education that they need, again, people may think of it otherwise, but for me, if I understand that they had gone through a horrific life upbringing, as much as I hate, you can't really fault them for it if they never got the counseling or education that they needed.
Right. If they didn't get educated.
They didn't get educated.
Agree.
Yeah.
But these kids that go out there, and yes, they had an incident happen, or yes, their parents might have been abusive, but they still were out in the world to know right from wrong. Right. That's on them at that point.
Well, in the Turpin case, they were pretty much in prison in their home. They were not allowed. There were very few times that they actually left the house. Like I said, when they went to Disney World, but that was just putting a mask on, practically.
Right? Yeah, you can't.
But aside from that, so it's like it makes me wonder, especially the kids that are still going through this abuse even today, and are still trying to fight the state and even the government about this because this became such a notorious case. That's why I'm saying, it's like how much more are they going to take of this? And I can't help but think that for the younger kids, what are they going to be like when they grow up?
Hopefully, they'll get enough socialization that they have a choice of how they want to be.
Well, like I said, one of them did become an author. One of the older kids, he has written a book about what what they had to endure, which I had heard was, I think, a bestseller. So in a way, I do know that some of the kids have finally gotten the education that they should have received from their parents and got the understanding of right and wrong. So I'm sure it's not necessarily going to stop them fully from like what they were educated, but they are at the very least trying their absolute best to adapt into normal society.
And it's also going to depend on the people they have around them and how much those people really do want to help instead of placate to them. That's like, well, we're not going to go into it, but we know how old I am. And there's been times Jan will look at me and go, let's talk about this. Let's think about this. And it takes me back to where I should have realized this at, 19 at the very latest. But it does take somebody that gives a shit.
It does.
To be honest with you and say, hey, and everybody's brought into your life for a reason. And if they play their part like they should, they're going to be honest with you.
Well, that's what makes it difficult, like I said, for some of these kids, because they're adopted by another family that they think they're going to be completely the opposite, but it ends up being the same thing for them. And again, when you endure with that several times, that becomes the normal for you. So, it's good to know that these kids, in spite of what they had to endure, some for well over 30 years, where again, they took 30 years of their lives away from them practically, and if they have gone into like a similar lifestyle, but knowing that they are trying to change, try not to be like what their parents were, it's still going to take years for them to eventually get to that 100% good lifestyle, because understandably, they had to go through 30 years of this. And in some way, it's like, you just got to kind of bear with them, because it's definitely not going to change them overnight.
No, not.
No, it's not. And I have to believe that there's a plan. When children are innocent and brought into something so horrific, there's got to be a reason. There's got to be a plan somewhere that this is going to help someone somewhere. And I'm a big believer in soul contracts. And I think that everybody, whatever they endure on this earth, they have signed up for.
What's really sad is that when they are brought into this bad situation, they don't even realize it's a bad situation.
Absolutely not. And they're there to either teach a lesson or learn a lesson. And whichever one that might be, it's going to be hell while you're here. Absolutely, it's going to be hell. Or you're going to help someone, but this is what you asked to do. You may not realize it while you're here, but you did ask to do this, and you knew you were going to do this when you came here.
You're almost speaking to my daughter there.
Yeah, you're here to teach a lesson.
Yeah.
See, I think the Turpin case really was a lightning rod to really focus more on a lot of these family abuse cases, because unfortunately, and I really hate to say it might even be happening right now as I speak, there's a lot of others out there that obviously most of us don't even know about, and not just here in this country. We're talking worldwide. And I think that really set the stage for really trying to investigate more of these family abuse cases, and also kind of raising that awareness of some of these kids' futures, that, when they grow up, knowing that they could eventually become just like their parents, basically. And that's why I think, in my case, because to this day, when the sister actually, whoever her name was, when the sister was interviewed on Evil Lives Here, she only went to visit the mother once while she was in prison, saying, why did you do this, or whatever the case was. And of course, even to this day, the parents still think what they did was normal parenting, which obviously goes to show they are the true monsters in this case.
Sure.
And she walked, after what she heard, this she ended up leaving. She did not want to hear anymore. Like thinking, you know what? Doesn't even matter. You are official. You and your husband, you both are done. You guys are both done for what you did, and they still claim that it was good parenting. They don't want to take responsibility for whatever their kids do when they grow up. But honestly, I still think, again, like what you said, is that they should be held accountable for what they did. So I'm just going to say this again. Again, this is just my personal opinion. If any of these kids, whether they're grown up now or they're going to grow up in a few years, if they end up committing any crimes or anything involved, whatever the case is,
Yeah.
I'm going to, it's going to be the few times I'm actually going to feel bad because they never got the education that they needed. But I'm just going to simply say this all happened because their parents were the ones who put them in this horrific lifestyle and gave them this poor education. So whatever their kids do later on in their lives, that should make the Turpin parents responsible. So in my opinion, those are the people truly I would point the finger at.
I think there's lots of things going on that we don't see. Let's say we see certain colors. Let's say we see red and green. That's all we can see in our state right now. I think some are awakened to seeing other colors as well. So, is this really as black and white as we think it is? I don't think so. I think, being in the paranormal, you realize there's lots of layers that we don't understand and that we don't know. Our religion plays a part in it. What we learn plays a part in it. And yes, we can get mad and, people are evil. Are they here to teach us a certain lesson? Are we here? Well, they are here to teach us a certain lesson. We are here to either learn or teach a certain lesson or both. Are what they call guardian angels, guides, whatever we call them, they're the same thing. Some are living.
Yeah.
And some are not. But they're here. They're with us.
See, that's what I really like about the show Evil Lives Here is I think it's probably the most perfect example television show to really demonstrate that, because the way how these former, these family members or former partners or cult members in other cases, the way how they describe everything, it was just, it really gives you that sense of feeling that life isn't always black and white as everyone thinks it is, or they try to make it look like it is. But in reality, in their personal lives, it's not.
No.
Not to mention, and I know it's a lot more worse for them, but as I've told you guys before, I've gone through some of that myself growing up, and not at home, but at school.
Mm-hmm.
With with my autism not being as understood as it is now, just the amount of maybe not physical, but emotional, mental, and vocal abuse that I had to take from staff members, and just like a lot of these other cases, I saw it as a normal thing. I thought this was something that happened frequently, but it was only after when I really entered my years of high school did I understand that what I was going through when I was younger was wrong, and it should have never happened to begin with.
There's lots of things in life that none of us should ever have to go through, but we do. And I think there's a lesson in each thing we do. Yeah. There's a lesson in each thing we do or go through. Now, this just dawned on me. Let's think about this. You two, the audience does not, but you two know the relationship between me and Jan. Yeah. So, how much of what we have to endure, who our guardian angels are, and what we do in life, how much of it is split between a guardian angel who is in a whole different realm, a guide who is a whole different realm, and earthbound? How much of it is actually the same thing?
Yeah, really.
Because if you look at if you look at Jan, she's two things. With me, she is. She's two things. She's a guide, and she's also earthbound teacher. And I'm sure somewhere in the role, I play a role somewhere in her soul contract. So, how much of it is both realms coming together and we don't know how it happens or realize how it happens, but it does. And if we can, there's people that do past life regressions and all those things. I have not had it done. I think if I had it done 3 times, I'd get 3 different stories.
Mm-hmm.
And that's just, it doesn't matter. Past life doesn't matter. It's right now and what I need to learn this time in this life. But I think it all comes together somewhere.
I think that it's not for you to question, how much of a role do I have in this person and how much of a role that I think it's more of just take it for what it is.
It absolutely. But when you stop and really think about it, every person in your life plays some kind of a role, whether it's a lesson that you learn and throw them away because you learned that lesson and they're done.
There's been many of those.
Oh, yeah. Or it's a person that you never want to get rid of in your life and you don't know why. Or it's somebody that you learned a lesson from, you loved them deeply while they were there, you learned a lesson from them, and they're no longer there. Does it ease the pain? Absolutely not. But you learn. There's so many scenarios as to what a person plays in your life. And you have to sit and think about it and not overthink it because you let it flow.
There is going to come a time where, good lessons or bad,
They're there.
Well, yes, but that person will eventually not be there.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, yes.
And it's going to be that way for everybody.
Yeah. Yeah.
I got to just show this comment that what Jan said, that she said she's taken in a lot of kids and the abuse is great in most of them.
Oh, she has taken in so many.
As crazy as this is going to sound, again, knowing what, imagine basically if I was, living closer to her, basically, something tells me like if I was going through, I'm not necessarily saying about this with my parents, but if I was going through a lot of, if I knew her back all those years ago, as crazy as it's going to sound, I probably could have ended up becoming one of those kids because, again, I had to endure some of that abuse at school. It was that bad for me.
Her place in your life is now. And the lessons to learn are now.
Yeah.
What she has to teach you is now.
Yeah, exactly.
We are 20 minutes after the hour. I know that we got a really late start tonight.
Yeah, we did. I was wondering why we started so late.
Well, Adrian and I were talking about the local stuff.
Oh, okay.
And then when you came in, it just kind of went from there, and it's like, we need to go live.
Well, we were also talking about what I was supposed to do too, which kind of raised some red flags.
Yeah, that too.
Jeremy, also just to let you know too. Not that it's anything important for the show, but just thought you should know about this. I was talking with Mary and Shane from the Netherlands last night, and yesterday. First off, I know this sounds unrelated, but did you see that I changed my profile picture? Did you see who I was with in the picture?
One on your profile?
Yeah, it was at Paris Icon. It was the picture of me, Brian J. Cano, and Dan Sturgis. And
no.
So Mary, I decided to do this just out of kindness, but Mary comments on the picture and she says, how great it would be to have Brian J. Cano on our show. So what I did was I actually, because again, I'm friends with Brian J. Cano, I actually decided to contact him. And I said to Brian, hey, I know you're really busy and stuff, but I got a show here from the Netherlands that would be interested in having you on as a guest on their show. Would you be interested in coming on? And Brian knows me very well since, again, I've seen him several times at these Paracons. He got back to me the very next morning, and Brian has agreed and will be going on the Things of the Netherlands show. And not only was I excited, I'm thinking to myself, oh man, Mary and Shane, they are going to love this news what I'm going to give to them. So I messaged them in the other chat that Lois created. I said to them, what if I told you that I know you were asking this the other day, Mary, but what if I told you that I reached out to Brian about having him on your show and he has agreed to coming on? Oh my God. They were so excited when I told them about it. And all he just needed was a date and time. And so like they gave me the times that that they had open, which was July 2nd and most of August. And Brian gave me his email, which I sent to Mary and Shane respectively. And I was thinking that most likely it was going to take a while before you get back to the email. But after I sent the email to Mary, I get a message response from her then probably about 15 minutes later. It turned out Brian responded a lot quicker than I expected. They officially have him on their show on August 13th.
Well, here's the thing. Be a good human. It doesn't matter if you know the person, if they're famous, if they're not famous. Be a good human. And good humans will be attracted to you. That's all you got to do. Is be a good human.
And I just did it simply because, like, after when Mary had asked that, I just did it out of complete kindness. I thought to myself, and no one, again, yes, it's true. I'm very good friends with Brian, but still, I just decided just not trying to do it for attention or anything. I just thought, you know what, I'm going to try to do this, and I even said to her in the response, it's the same thing I said the last message was, I was just very happy that I was able to make that occasion possible for them.
And that's it. Be a good human. Don't look for fame. She's stuck with me forever. I lived through her. She lives through me. That's yeah. You got one of us, regardless. Be a good human. Don't seek fame. Don't seek attention. Don't seek thank yous, and it comes back to you. It really does. It comes to you more than you think it would.
Exactly. I even said, and again, I think she was under the impression first, but I was like, I even said to Mary at one point saying, let me know, like, when Brian gets back to you, like, about, and I think she first thought, like, saying to be on our show or something. Like, no, just so I could tune in and watch when that show's going to be on, because I'll be tuning in the end. So I was really excited. I was doing this I was not doing this for myself. I was doing it for them.
And it's intention that matters. That's
definitely.
That's all that matters.
Yep. Okay, folks, we have just now crossed 2 hours.
Yep.
Just taking a break.
And it's about 10:30. We need to call it a night, folks. It's getting late.
It's 8:30. What are y'all talking about?
Man. Just for you, like what Jan said.
An extremely busy week.
Yeah, Joe, we're about to end things. He said he's back, but we're just about to end it.
Are ending this.
I mean, wait, I gotta do this for Chris. I'm going to it against Sylvester Stallone's voice.
Joe, tomorrow when you're awake, let me know. Message me when you're awake tomorrow, and I will call you on Messenger, and we'll figure this out. I'll be in the loop anyway.
Chris, I'm just gonna say in response to that, hey, you know what? You gotta do what you gotta do.
Boobies!
Oh, God damn it, Chris. I'm gonna save this for next week. It's not involving. It's not. Wait, what did you say?
Nothing.
I'll have to go back and re-listen, but there is actually something. No, it's not involving what Chris is saying, but let's just say I might have something special for next weekend. I'm going to tell you. I can't say it now because I gotta wait for a confirmation about this. You
They're
guys just
there.
gotta, huh? Wait, what did you say?
You just keep on waiting, Nick.
There's confirmation. They're there.
Well, I will say this for now. There was an email to this that I finally. Okay, you know what? I'll just give a little preview. And
I
this
did
is,
not give you confirmation.
well, I'm not gonna. I'm gonna save this for most. I'm just gonna give a little preview for next week. There is apparently a special paranormal event that. Oh wait, did I already tell you guys about the Windy City Parafest? Did I already talk about that already? I don't remember if I did.
Oh yeah, we spent a good portion.
Oh yeah, so that's that's what's coming up next weekend, and I think I said before that this is not like a real Paracon, but there is one event that I'm hoping to attend to next weekend, but I'd rather wait until I give more of the details.
Okay, you do that, and we're going to bed.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, that's what I'm saying. That's why I'm saying I'm saving most of it for next week because I got to wait for the confirmation on it.
Good. Then that means you can do most of the talking next week, and I can just take a nap.
Well, I don't think it really needs that much talking, but okay.
You and I both know that you can do enough talking for the three of us for 2 hours.
I mean, maybe the week after
Right,
that event, but I don't know about next week.
Am I wrong?
Hey,
I don't think
we'll talk about boobies, and if we need to, we will go into detail. We will go into science, and you will know all about boobies, and you will not turn red anymore when we talk about boobies.
Well, if anything, as far as a long conversation goes, if we do end up going to this event, it probably won't be till probably the week after next week.
Well, I hear you're going to see boobies next week, so we will talk about that the week after.
Yeah, and the person that's with you is going to have to be on with you so that that person can tell us all the good details that we know you will intentionally need. In the meantime, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for playing with us tonight. And next week, our discussion will be boobies in Illinois.
We were just about to. We were doing so well before that.
Oh, so he means we're doing good with boobies.
No, with Illinois.
Yeah, Nick, that wasn't the first time that was said on this show.
When was it said last time? I didn't even hear it.
Well, that's the point.
When you hear boobies, your ears turn off, and you don't hear Illinois behind it.
Oh, Adrian, that's first time from you now. Oh,
it's not. Oh, and cockroaches. Hey, speaking of, what is going on?
Bob, don't encourage them.
What is behind you on the couch, dude?
What's that?
Dude, you may want to get your house sprayed.
Why?
Because you have something crawling on the back of the couch.
Oh, God damn it, Adrian.
Now
I really thought you meant that.
Now that we have done giving Nick a nightmare, we are going to go ahead and sign off for the week. So everybody out there, enjoy the rest of your evening wherever you are.
As Eileen would do.
Well, Nick's not going to enjoy his evening, not anymore. So
yeah, probably won't.
Yeah. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we will see you guys next week.
Good night, everyone.